Have you always been a dog person?
Always, and I'm allergic to dogs.
You're allergic to dogs?
I'm allergic to dogs.
So, how does that work?
Well, as a kid, I grew up in Digby. 2 doors down, Avery Nickerson was developing or reintroducing the Nova Scotia duck-toller retriever. Subsequently went to Yarmouth and perfected the breed. But he had pen after pen of dog. And when I was a small boy, he had golden retrievers and border collies, trying to establish that activity and color and breed. And every day I'd come home after school and my mother would say, "You've been patting those dogs," and my eyes would be swollen up. I'd be sneezing, and I just love dogs.
And now we had 3, I guess.
And you know, it's border collies are Ferraris. They're not for everyone, but if you've got this environment, it's the only thing that probably could accomplish this.
Canada geese are iconic birds in this country, but they're also the bane for many recreational property users. Well, today on NSK9, I'm hanging around with a couple of border collies who are trying to solve that problem.
The way this started was really with the weeds,
Yeah.
which are a big problem, as
the
you
weeds
know.
in the lake, yeah.
And then the geese started coming in. We used to have 2, and then we had 10, and then we had 50. And all they were doing was literally eating the weeds 24/7. And we got a blue-green algae bloom down by Paddler's Cove, and the geese just adapted to the paddlers, the swimmers, the paddle boards, and research kind of showed that they put like 1 kilogram of feces in the lake each. Yeah. So you're getting 100 pounds.
The lake was getting closed.
Well, it was, and the weeds were growing. So we just started to haze them a little bit in the boat, not at high speed, just at really low speed. And they started to respond to that. They have a molt of flight feathers in July, and then when August came, they flew away and they didn't come back. And the golf course thing started because around mid-August they had the ladies' championship at Brightwood, and they couldn't play the last round of golf because of the geese. Geese feces everywhere.
Yeah, you don't want to be walking through that in golf shoes.
Geese chasing lady golfers. It was a nightmare. And so Mike Connors had called me, the president of Brightwood, and he said, "Can your dogs get rid of Canada geese on a golf course?" And I said, "I have no clue." So we met him at 6:30 in the morning. Of course, Andrew, there's no geese. 7 o'clock, they're everywhere. They're coming in, landing on all of the holes. And about 6 weeks later, we cleared the geese off the course.
So an accidental business.
Well, and it's, you know, this is a community. It was a community for the paddlers. It was a community in terms of the closure of the beaches for the general public. The playgrounds, people couldn't go there. So our counselor was saying, you know, "Can your dogs get rid of the geese on the playground?" And then the neighbors started calling, and that's how it started.
From golf courses to playgrounds and lakes, Paul Lewis and his border collies are encouraging Canada geese to move on. What's going to happen?
What's going to happen is these are the resident geese. They're the ones that think that this backyard is their turf, and they're going to, because it's cold, they're eating a lot more, burning more calories. There's fresh water here, which is a safety valve for them, and there's no predators. So what we're going to do is introduce predators into their world.
And this is in a residential property, too.
Yes.
And this is sort of where this all started.
It is, and what happens is the sooner you get at it and move them out of here, the better it will be next year and the year after, because they just grow exponentially. If they're born here, they're like salmon, they come back here.
All right. Well, there you go. All right, well, I guess we got to get the dogs out then.
Here. Lie down.
You started in like pest control and that sort of thing, but not with the dogs.
No, and I think what you find in pest control or biology or in landscaping or whatever, there's certain things that you address, whether it's in weed control or insect control or rodents or whatever. And geese are just a pest. You know, they're protected. But some of the side effects of them are pretty uncomfortable for people. They're quite a nuisance, and they're very organized, very social, very smart.
And your goal isn't to kill the geese. They're not trying to catch them. They're just trying to make it an uncomfortable place, right?
I think with herding dogs, what you're doing is you're taking the space from livestock. You're moving that livestock to a different space. And so it's very natural for border collies to go in and take a space from, be it sheep or horses or cattle or Canada geese, same thing. It's just literally they like that space. The border collies are trained to the point that they take that away from them.
So with these resident geese, I guess, they recognize the dogs are coming, so they're gone fast.
That's right. And when we get to Heartland Point, you'll have the non-resident geese that have never seen this. They've seen coyotes. They may have been shot at somewhere on their journey in terms of, it is goose season right now.
Yeah.
And so they're a little harder to move, but border collies can move anything. They can put a horse in a phone booth and churro.
And you can see like why somebody would not want this on their property or on a golf course. I mean, it's covered in goose poop.
Exactly. So you don't own it, they do.
And goose feces is exactly why golf courses in the area have got Paul and his dogs on the course.
So tell me about geese and golfers.
Well, they're not a good combo. How's that? You know, especially in the Maritimes, the Canada goose population has exploded, and really it's across Canada, talking to my colleagues. But they hang around the greens, they love being by the water, and all they do is just eat grass and go to the bathroom. And it's messy, and you know, they like to hang out on the greens, so it really does make a mess on the golf course.
There are a few things that can be dangerous to a dog in your backyard. The one thing that really stands out to me, though, is toxic mushrooms. They are very dangerous, and there's a species, or actually several species, in the province that are very dangerous. They fall into the family of the Amanita mushrooms, and it only takes one or two to potentially kill a dog. So I always recommend, especially in the fall, if you see a lot of mushrooms in your yard, just go pick them, especially if your dog is the kind that gets into them. Just to get rid of them so they don't end up eating them by mistake.
We have nothing against geese, it's just the feces is toxic. It carries everything from Cryptosporidium to H1N1 apparently, and it's tough to walk in, it's tough to play golf in, it's not something you want to put a blanket down at the paddling venues and sit outside.
So Heartland, so we're heading up to Heartland Point,
Yes.
I guess, and they've become another golf course that you travel to.
Well, what happens is the first golf course started recommending to another golf course, and now we've got steady calls from golf courses all over the area.
So they even have their own working dog vests? And
Well, we do, because a lot of people don't know why they're there on the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
And the dogs, when they get on site, they get in a zone, as you know, any of these border collies are pretty they're pretty tuned in to what they're doing. Here.
Now, a lot of people are going to look at these and say, he's a border collie, but he's not. But they're both border collies, aren't they?
Both border collies. This is a female. Grace, she's about 9. This is a smooth coat dog that's more on the UK lines. This is more North American version. And he's a hill dog from Wales, and he's a wicked livestock dog.
Okay.
Yeah. A place like Heartland Point is, kind of one of the first refuges off salt water, if it's windy or if it's stormy or whatever. And the geese, I think they literally come in there as kind of like a truck stop. In other words, they're worked really hard to find it, and there's just waves of them that will come in.
Heartland Point is a beautiful and popular golf course in Nova Scotia's Eastern Passage. The views are spectacular. Well, except today. Today, it's a gale.
All right, so we're at Heartland, and the weather is absolutely horrible.
Good goose weather.
Yeah, good goose weather. But I mean, that's why the geese are coming in, aren't they, right? Because it's cold in the salt water.
As nasty as it is here, it's a lot nastier out on the salt ponds and the salt water.
So this is one of the courses that you picked up for clearing geese. How'd that happen?
They've had a long-standing problem here, and it's really other golf courses. There's a kind of a community of superintendents and golf pros and general managers, and they all are getting the same problem. With climate change, there's more geese, and so they're just, if they've had success, they like to tell other people who are in that business about a possible remedy, and everywhere we've done it, it's worked, but it's hard work.
Yeah, and you have to go out in all kinds of weather.
Often, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, but they enjoy this, right? I mean, this is a game.
Oh, this is a border collie's dream. We have literally about 650 acres of golf courses we do, and it's all off-leash. And
so you get the biggest giant off-leash playground that no other dog can play on.
And that's appealing to people, except there's a lot more to a golf course than just the geese. So you got tractors, you got equipment, you got mowers, you got blowers, you got golfers, golf carts.
Golf balls.
Golf balls you can't touch. Golf etiquette. So you can't be putting geese up or be around people that are putting or driving or chipping or whatever. You can't run in sand traps, you can't run on tee boxes or greens. There's a lot of moving parts to this. And that's why we do golf courses in the fall and the winter, because if they have adopted that as their place, then when they ramp up for golf in April, there's twice as many as there was last year. So you literally, the sooner you get at it, the better, but persistence prevails when all else fails. You got to do it. When they show up, you got to show up and take that space away.
What was the reaction when you first introduced dogs to the course? Because golfers and dogs are not always a great combination.
Well, it's not.
At least not on a golf course.
No. And the one thing we've done here is we've had a lot of construction at the old course. So we used to have dogs on the golf course in the winter, but in recent years, because of the construction and the freeze thaws in the winter, we've disallowed dogs. So all of a sudden to have 2 dogs out there chasing geese around, it was a little weird for a while. But we talked about it, communicated with the members in the e-news that goes out every week. And I think the members have grabbed hold of it and enjoy seeing the dogs.
I guess they like the idea of not having to deal with the geese quite so often now.
Yeah, you don't want to pot over goose poop. So it doesn't roll smoothly, and we've got nice new greens here. So this has helped for sure.
So what's the reaction you get from people when you're out on the course and they see you?
First is why you're there, why you're off leash.
Yeah, because golfers don't really like off-leash dogs.
Exactly.
On the course, right?
Apparently it's quite common in Scotland and places to walk and to see dogs. But the general management of these courses, they're great communicators, and kind of forewarn the golfers that we'll be on the course, that we're here for a purpose, that we're not here for pats or treats or things of that nature. We're here to try to get rid of their goose dropping problem.
And it works.
It works.
And we're here at Brightwood, and Brightwood was the start of this adventure for you, but this has grown a lot, hasn't it?
Oh yes.
Very quickly.
And you just can't be at all of the places. And you feel bad about that because they love their backyards and their beaches and their soccer fields and their golf courses, but there's just a finite amount of time you can put in.
And you're really the only one doing this.
Unfortunately. It takes a while to train the dogs. We've just adapted them from a traditional herding mode into this repurposing to try to get people's space, recreational space back. It's kind of sacrilege to a true herding person, I'm sure, to have a dog that literally drives your target away from you at high speed. Like, that's not what you're trying to do when you're on a farm. You're trying to...
That's kind of the opposite of what you do with sheep.
Exactly, and you're trying to bring them in quietly and controlled or whatever, but border collies, you know, they'll do what you want them to do as long as it's work. They just love to work, and they're just relentless. They just would work 24/7.
A sudden water intake in dogs can actually be a very serious condition and associated with a number of underlying health issues. If an owner were to notice a sudden increase in water intake, I would definitely recommend that you speak to your veterinarian, potentially get some blood work done. A few common medical conditions associated with a sudden intake in water could be diabetes, kidney disease, or even liver disease.
So tell me about this PGA, Professional Golf Association, right?
Well, Brightwood is where we started doing golf courses, and as I mentioned, it was because literally the geese had taken over the course in terms of the droppings or the aggression towards female golfers, particularly in August. So that's where we started doing golf courses. And Glenn, who was the general manager here, he loved the dogs. He loved the idea of the dogs coming. It was very unconventional. COVID hit in the wintertime, and literally the geese were taking over the course. So he asked me what I needed. I said, what I need is a place for the dogs to get on the course without getting hit by a car. And it was his idea. PGA, Pepper was my original border collie that started it. So very quickly we can get on the course without interacting with traffic.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel really interesting because Pepper is gone. She died in the winter, and Glenn is gone. He died this fall, but this survives.
How do you train your border collies to do this?
It's just patience, I think. It's just persistence. I think you've got to have that herding dog to begin with. I don't think you can do it with retrievers or things. No, and you need dogs with guts. Yeah. There are times when, if you showed weakness, I think the geese would just overwhelm me and the dogs.
Did you ever envision yourself chasing geese on golf courses?
No. In fact, I think we went to a pest control conference one time, and there was a couple sessions. One was on bed bugs, the other was on Canada geese. And the guy I was with, my lead, the guy who subsequently took over the pest control, he said, "We don't have any of those, let's go to lunch." And we did. We didn't.
You didn't even go to the seminar?
We didn't go to them, no. So it was literally starting from ground zero when we got the call.
And now, this is what you're doing.
It's everywhere. And we get calls from everywhere.
And this is a big part of what you do now, isn't it?
It's a nice part of what I do. I think you get to walk, you get to work, you get to meet people, you get, you know, thousands of golfers that are happy you're here.
Well, I think we'll stick to it as long as Paul doesn't mind. He's been unbelievable. He always sends me a record of the times he was at each golf course, how many geese he saw, everything. He sends us pretty detailed records, and you know, so it's wonderful to have and at least communicate to the membership and to my board. You know, this is what we are trying to do, and you know, so I would say that you know, we'll continue it, and certainly it'll be interesting next year to see sort of where their numbers are and how often he has to come out to chase them around.
It's unlikely the Canada goose problem is going to disappear overnight for golf courses, paddlers, and homeowners. And so Paul and his dogs have a lot of work ahead of them.
So are these guys pets or are they employees?
I think they're both. They're just my friends. Yeah. And we got a good gig here.
You got a really good gig, don't you? I think there's a lot of people who are going to be a little bit jealous. Maybe not of the snow, but a little bit jealous.
Well, it's you know, it's a fun thing to do if it's beneficial, but it could also be a problem. It could also be a nuisance. Yourself, you could be part of the problem if you didn't respect what this place is used for. And we're just trying to give it back to them. We're not trying to take it over.
So you don't actually golf?
No. Rowan's a good walk.
So this is a little bit different, ending up doing work on a golf course then. Probably not what you expected for your career.
No, and but it's I think it's such a beautiful place, and trying to share it with Canada Geese just doesn't work out.
Visit us online to tell us your dog stories for possible inclusion in future episodes. And don't forget to share photos of your canine friends on social media with the hashtag NSK9.
You like being outside, don't you?
I thrive, I think, just being outdoors and with the dogs and being of some service to somebody. And geese are a problem. It's a problem for aircraft. I think it was a bird strike that put that airplane in the Hudson River. But being outdoors is pretty cool. Off leash is pretty cool. 3,000 golfers that love to see your dogs off leash, that's really cool.
Ever wonder what winter mushers do in the summer? Well, they go dryland. That's next week on NSK9.
We have Katie here, who's an Alaskan Husky, and Hazel, who's running in the woods over there. And they are your classic long-distance Husky. They don't go fast, but they pull really hard. But you'll notice that the other two dogs that we have here are hound mixes, and they're for sprint sled dog racing. And they wouldn't do well in a long distance race, but if you want them to go really fast for about, 5 to 20 kilometers an hour, that's what they're for. But you probably noticed today, obviously, we had somebody out on the trail, Erin, and she's running border collies. And there's a lot of people involved in the sport at like the urban mushing level who are running all different kinds of breeds.